is not? Donia, welcome to my weekly stream.
Donia, welcome to my weekly stream. Donia, welcome to my weekly stream. Donia, welcome to my weekly stream.
I just updated my links in my about yoga and religion. Kind of a touchy subject, but what a great way to, or what a great thing to converse about, I should say. First and foremost, I don't have like a degree in, theology or whatever. However, I am a yoga instructor. Why is this not over there? All right, it's good to know y'all can see me. Welcome. My name is Donia. Welcome to my weekly stream. As always, just want to thank you for being here and to remind you to follow. I don't know if I have a subscription option yet, but please follow. I just updated my links in my about, so there's a suggestion box if you have any suggestions for things that you'd like me to discuss with you. And then you can follow me on YouTube for free yoga videos and meditation videos. And you can contact me on Instagram if you'd like to talk to me when I'm not live. So today we're going to be talking about yoga and religion. Kind of a touchy subject, but what a great way to, or what a great thing to converse about, I should say. First and foremost, I don't have like a degree in, theology or whatever. However, I am a yoga instructor. I've practiced yoga since 2013, and I'll tell you why I did the quotation marks as far as how long I've been practicing yoga. If you see me look down, I'm looking down at the chat. So if y'all have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to type them in the chat, and we can go ahead and talk about them. So there's a common misconception that yoga is a religion. So let's talk about, first and foremost, what the definition of religion is. I'm going to use my handy-dandy smartphone to look on Google. So religion is the belief and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods, which makes sense, right? We have Christianity, in which folks believe in God, and there's a multitude of other religions that I'm not going to speak on because I don't know enough about them to discuss. But of course, we have, oh my goodness, we have Catholicism, we have Judaism, there's tons of religions. Now, let's talk about yoga. So, the word yoga comes from the root to yoke, which means to join. Okay, so let's see, definition of yoga. So I can give y'all the official Google definition to ensure. So this says, which I actually don't agree with, a Hindu spiritual and ascetic discipline, a part of which, including breath control, simple meditation, and the adoption of specific bodily postures, is widely practiced for health and relaxation. Now, that definition coincides very well with the physical practice of yoga, or the practice of asanas. There are actually 8 limbs that encompass yoga. Asana being just one of those 8 limbs. So, and forgive me ahead of time if I mispronounce any of these, because some of you may be very well versed in how to pronounce these terms. Ashtanga yoga, blah, blah, blah. So, keep in mind that there are also many different kinds of yoga. There's Ashtanga yoga, there's Vinyasa yoga, there's Hatha yoga, there's Yin yoga, there's Buddha yoga, there's, what's it called? That's just like recently been made up. It's basically like twerk yoga. So there's different kinds of yoga, different disciplines of yoga, and Something else that we have to consider is the fact that on the East, in India, where yoga originated, yoga is not taught in classes. Yoga is a part of the practice of yoga, I should say, the physical practice, the physical asanas. It's a part of everyone's life. People practice yoga at home, in the privacy of their own home. They don't go to studios to practice yoga. They don't pay people to practice yoga. They simply do yoga. Whereas here in the West, people primarily see the practice of yoga, the physical practice of yoga, as like a workout class. And that's not exactly how it originated, but it's easier to simplify it into just a workout class than to involve people in all the intricacies of yoga. So back to back to the 8 limbs of yoga. Okay, so samadhi is union and integration. Yamas are the external disciplines. Niyamas are the internal disciplines. Asana is the postures themselves. Pranayama is breath control. Pratyahara is withdrawal of senses. Dharana is concentration. And dhyana is meditative absorption. So those are the 8 limbs of yoga. Those are the limbs that most folks on the East practice when they practice yoga. They don't just practice the physical asanas as far as going through the postures and, getting into these pretzel poses, or, just doing handstands, or striving to just be able to do the splits and things like that a lot of people think of when they think of yoga. A lot of people here in the West believe that if you can do a handstand, or if you can do the splits, or if you can do some super intensely bendy posture, that you're great at yoga. You might be very flexible. You might be very in tune with your body. You might have great body awareness. You might be very strong. However, that doesn't necessarily make you a yogi. Now, that's interesting. Do many people who practice yoga in the West know about the 8 limbs? That's a really good question. I don't believe they do, especially depending on where they practice yoga. So I was introduced to the 8 limbs when I started my yoga teacher training. So I started the physical practice of yoga back in 2013, which is why I did this. And it was completely ego-driven up until last July 2020. All I wanted to do was get on my mat and look cool and look bendy and look strong and do cool postures and show off that I could do yoga. It wasn't until I started my yoga teacher training in July of 2020 that my yoga teacher introduced us all to the philosophy of yoga. So less about just the postures, although the postures do play a role, and more about yoga in its entirety. And that's when I was first introduced to the 8 limbs. So for anyone who is a diligent yoga practitioner, or not yoga practitioner, someone who practices the physical asanas of yoga regularly, I would highly encourage you, if possible, and if it's within your budget, to go to invest in a yoga teacher training. You don't ever have to teach a class if you don't want to. That's not necessarily what it's for. But if you find a teacher or a school that aligns with your values and what you'd like to learn about yoga, I would definitely encourage you to do a yoga teacher training. I was actually a part of the largest yoga teacher training for Black yoga students in history so far. Initially, we started out with 2,000 students from all over the globe, and it was amazing. And that's a conversation within itself, just regarding the lack of representation of anybody of color in the yoga community. Because we think of yoga and we think of like a slim white woman, doing a really bendy posture. So even, there's a really popular magazine called the Yoga Journal, and even just having a man on the cover practicing yoga was like, oh my gosh. And men totally practice yoga. There's nothing that says men can't. I think that a lot of people, especially men, I'm going to assume that some people believe that they simply aren't flexible enough to practice yoga. Once again, that's a whole other conversation. But I digress, and I totally forgot where my point was. So when it comes to yoga teacher trainings, you definitely want to do your due diligence. If your goal is just to dive into and really deeply, thoroughly understand yoga, you can absolutely do that research on your own. But if you'd also like to learn how to create your own sequences and dive deeper into the meaning behind the names of the postures and things like that, then yoga teacher training might be awesome. And keep in mind that you can literally learn anything on your own. It's just up to you to be able to discern, what information is pertinent information, what information do you actually need, and then also what information is coming from a reliable source. But if you can do those things, and you can learn all this on your own, take your time, you don't have to necessarily pay anybody to go through a yoga teacher training. My teacher training was amazing because throughout my entire yoga career, as far as when I started practicing in 2013 up until this point, there'd probably been about 20 or 25 black yogis on Instagram that I followed and kind of kept up with on a regular basis. So to be on a Zoom call every weekend with over 300 black yoga students, and all of them looked like someone I knew or looked like someone I was related to, and it was just a really incredible experience because it felt welcoming. I didn't feel as if, I just felt seen. The conversations that we would have were always so genuine and great. Everyone was wonderful, and it was a really safe space, and it was just amazing. So, back to, is yoga a religion? Yoga is a philosophy, and although I believe in Hinduism, they worship multiple gods, and that could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might check on Google real quick. You do not have to convert or anything along those lines in order to practice yoga. All you got to do is practice. And if you don't want to dive into the other 8 limbs of yoga, that's totally fine. Just know that there's more to yoga than simply just the physical practice, just the asanas. There's more to it than that. And the philosophy of yoga is actually really, really interesting. I mean, similar to the Four Agreements, the book written by, what's that guy's name? Do I have it there? Well, this is his other book, The Mastery of Self. But similar to the Four Agreements written by Don Miguel Ruiz. I don't know if this one's by his son or if this one's by him. I want to say this is by his son. One of them's by his son. Either this one or the Fifth Agreement. But it's a book about philosophy. It's a book about how to live your life. It's not a book about worshiping multiple gods. I know that there are yoga classes in which people chant. You don't have to participate in that. There are yoga classes in which, I guess chanting would be the biggest thing because the names of the postures are just the names of the postures. And depending on which type of yoga you practice, the names of the postures are different. Some of the names of the postures are named after gods. But if you practice Kemetic yoga, they're not. So it just depends on the type of yoga that you practice. So during my yoga teacher training, one of the books that we read, the primary text, was Inside the Yoga Sutras by Sri Patanjali. And really quickly, I'm going to read the intro. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let's look at one, blah, blah, blah. So the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali by Sri Swami Patanjali. Sachidananda. Integral Yoga Publications of 1990. That's where this is translated from. And the original text was written in Sanskrit, so it is translated. Let me see if I can find a quick little tidbit to give you folks some insight. So, one of the parts of the introduction says, put this book down unless you agree with this fundamental truth. Everyone wants to be happy, peaceful, and fulfilled. Doesn't say anything about worship, doesn't say anything about chanting, doesn't say anything about practicing a certain something, doesn't say anything about sacrifice. This one fundamental truth. everyone wants to be happy, peaceful, and fulfilled. That is the basis of the Yoga Sutras, and there are so many of them. I went through the first 16 in my yoga teacher training, and it was plenty to give you just things to think about and ways to shift your life basically away from suffering, right? So it says, if you are completely at peace, if there's no lack in your life, if nothing has the power to make you sad, anxious, or unsure, then perhaps for you, the study and practice of Yoga Sutras is not necessary. You are already living the goal. If, on the other hand, you feel there is something missing in fleeting occasions of joy, if you yearn to experience an abiding peace, are searching for meaning and a vision of life that will help you make sense out of the unexpected twists and turns you face, or if you would like to bring your mind to a clear and focused stillness, then consider reading on. So again, the Yoga Sutras are basically the philosophy of the practice of yoga. And in this, Sri Patanjali goes through a multitude of different things. And the sutras aren't just, be kind to your neighbor and things like that. They're deeply philosophical. They talk about the kind of information that we hold. I guess you could say that we trust. There are certain kinds of information that we could trust, like if it's coming from a reputable source, or if it's coming from our own research and things like that. So let's see. Let me read y'all the very first sutra. See if I can find it quickly. Did I already pass it? Let me see. What to do? 454. Basic definition, key practices. So yeah, the key practices within the Pada 1, which is like the first section of this book, are several classic meditation techniques, non-attachment, the 4 locks and the 4 keys, a way to retain calmness of mind in any situation. So 1.1, which is the first Yoga Sutra, is now the exposition of yoga. Yes. The word yoga has become so much a part of our everyday language, we take it for granted. Derived from the root yuj, it refers to the act of yoking. In common usage, it refers to the harnessing of animals and carts in order to make use of them. It is a root word from which we derive the English word yoke. Later, the word was applied. Blah, blah, blah. Yoga is also used to refer to the essential union or oneness of the individual with the self. So again, that's what yoga means. The union, the oneness between one's... What did it say? I just read it and I already forgot. The oneness of the individual with the self. So it is spiritual, but it's philosophical. It doesn't say anything about worshiping other gods. It doesn't say anything about, it actually doesn't mention anything regarding Jesus or the Lord or Bible verses or anything. So, the most common misconceptions I hear about yoga are usually that if you practice yoga, then you're worshiping other gods. So I would advise and encourage anyone who wants to practice yoga but doesn't because of those reasons or because they've heard that before, to do their own research. Nothing that I'm saying is law. Please don't believe me. Please do your own research. It's always best to do your own research. But to challenge those people, if often it's difficult to ignore someone if they're very close to you, if it's family members or loved ones that, whose opinions you hold very close, then, you might believe that what they're saying has some merit. And if so, then do your own research and then challenge them and then educate them. Ask them, what made you say that? Or, what have you heard about yoga? Or what have you? Oftentimes there are people who believe that anything that's different must be wrong, in some sort of way. And it's just up to us when we believe deeply in something and can realize the benefit of it, that we educate those around us instead of, getting frustrated and not practicing because of those reasons or what have you. So, once again, even if you're only practicing the physical practice of yoga, and I would always encourage you to practice meditation before you even begin the physical practice. Meditation has really deepened my relationship with myself. It's allowed me to find solutions to problems that I've never thought I could. It's allowed me to focus on things, to quiet my mind. It's allowed me to slow down. Instead of instantly wanting an answer or a solution to something, it's allowed me to just slow down and think about it, to just ponder. Because what happens with us often is we encounter a problem, right? We encounter, maybe a difficult problem, like, I don't know, our car needs, 3 new tires, and we just found out, and, we don't have the money for it right now today. We're not going to have the money for it, on our next paycheck. And then we start getting freaked out, start getting frazzled. And in that anxious mode, we start making decisions that aren't helpful to us. Perhaps we do something to cope, like perhaps we drink, perhaps we smoke, perhaps we eat really crappy food. All of those are like the same kind of, negative effect on our bodies. But if we could pause in that moment and give ourselves a moment to think, because the reality is needing 3 tires on your car, it's important, but it's not an emergency because nothing's on fire. No one has a gun to your head. It's not putting your life in immediate danger. So because of that, we in real life have the opportunity to pause. Even if we took an hour, it doesn't even matter. We could take an hour to think about this problem and how we could solve this problem. Instead of reacting, we could respond. And if we took the time to go from just reacting, which we're going to react anxiously, we're going to react in a frustrated way, it might impact those around us, and we might feel as though, this is just how I am when I get upset, I'm frustrated, whatever, and just kind of hopefully people will deal with it. But the reality is we have the ability to pause, take a deep breath, and I'm definitely not discouraging people from like having a glass of wine or smoking. Do whatever you have to do, but it shouldn't be done in excess just because of the fact that you are stressed about something that's going on in your life right now. So maybe you do have a glass of wine and sit, alone by yourself with, in your favorite chair, in your favorite shirt, and take a few moments just to, maybe you have a notepad and paper so you can start planning. What can I do right now to help myself in this situation? Panicking isn't going to help. So what can I do? Okay, let's take it back. Okay, how much does each tire cost? Okay, each tire costs, $100. That's really cheap, but let's just say it costs $100. Each tire costs $100. Okay, I need 3 tires, which means that's $300. Probably should just get the 4th because why not, right? So that's $400. Okay. When's the next time I'll have an extra $400? Okay, maybe not this check, next check, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Can I put this off until then? Not really. Maybe you drive 45 miles one way to work, so you really can't put off getting your tires that far. Maybe you can't wait 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Okay. Do I have a credit card that I can utilize? Perhaps. What would be the situation if I replaced 2 right now, 2 in 4 weeks and then 2 a couple of weeks later? Okay, I don't know the answer to that. Is there a trusted mechanic or someone that I could talk to? So you start chunking out this issue instead of it just being this really big, gloomy, overwhelming cloud over your head. you start to take it down and say, okay, is there anything I can do right now? First of all, am I in immediate danger? Because that's what our anxiety tells us, right? That we're in immediate danger and we need to act right now. We need to do something right now. So sometimes what we do is destructive. Most times it's not helpful. So allowing ourselves to pause and not go all the way down that destructive path. And I say that because there might be things, accessing the situation and the viewpoint. Yeah, exactly. There might be things that we do need to do to cope. Like perhaps we do need a glass of wine to just allow ourselves to lose out. Maybe that puts us in a better state of mind to be able to chunk down this problem and realize that it's not doom, gloom, fire, and brimstone and stuff. It's tires. Okay, so, is there a coworker that I can ride with for a couple days a week, even if it's not every day, just to lessen the wear and tear on my car? Is there any way I can work from home a couple of days? You start thinking about those kinds of solutions to this problem, even though you're still saying that you're going to have to wait to get your tires. So meditation has helped me really access those solutions that I already have in my mind. But what happens to us is we see the problem, we immediately want to fix it, and if we can't immediately fix it, then we're like, all right, I don't know what to do. And we don't get past that point of, I don't know what to do. Because the truth is, we always know what to do. Always. We always know what to do. We have the tools. We're just distracted. We're distracted by our anxiety. We're distracted by the feel that this isn't an immediate need, when it's really not. It's really, really not. I have digressed a whole bunch from my original points of yoga. Well, definitely talked a lot about yoga, and religion. So I thank you all for tuning in today. To summarize, yoga and religion are definitely two completely separate things. You can practice whatever religion you want and still practice yoga. They will not interfere with one another. If there are any folks that are close to you that, have looked down on you, or, said some nasty things, or maybe even just gave you some dirty looks when you said that you wanted to practice yoga, and you are very, very active in your church or what have you, do your due diligence, do some research, find some resources that you can share with them if you'd like to. If not, if it's not worth the mental energy, then you don't have to. But I would always encourage you to do your due diligence. And like I mentioned, I would always encourage everyone to begin a meditation practice, either alongside your yoga practice, without the yoga practice, because meditation is still one of the 8 limbs of yoga. And that's not why, but just because it's so beneficial to our bodies to slow down. We already live in a society that's constantly moving. We have this instant gratification complex. We encourage people to, we not prioritize, but we kind of like cheer people on when they do more. When someone tells you that they have 2 jobs and they have a child and they're going to school, you're like, well, you're doing awesome. And the reality is, no. We make it seem like that's winning, and it's not. It's too much. And I understand, like I was telling my partner the other day, I understand that sometimes those things do need to happen, but we should always have a plan for that to only happen for a short period of time. We glorify, grueling work, nonstop, not sleeping, blah, blah, blah. So meditation really, really, really slowed me down a lot. And I started off with like 11 minutes of meditation. Now I can probably meditate for 30, 35 minutes. And the whole time I'm conversing with myself. I'm looking inward. Many times I'm focusing on my breathing. I might be calming myself down. And it's something that I've done daily for like 230 days already. And it's a part of my day now. Like if I don't meditate and I don't journal, I feel like something's a little off. So yoga and religion are different. Point blank period. If you'd like to learn more about yoga, let me know. Once again, if you enjoyed this, please make sure you give me a follow. I'll be streaming weekly, and I'm also working on teaching classes again. So I'm debating on whether or not I should teach classes here or if I should teach classes on Zoom. But I will be posting more yoga classes on my YouTube channel. You can find the link to that in my About Me. So you can go to my YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe and turn on notifications. I'm actually working on another video that I should be posting within the next 5 days. And on my Instagram page, I have lots and lots of wonderful information regarding yoga, regarding weight training, regarding meditation, regarding just establishing a better connection with ourselves and really learning how to pause and love on ourselves, more than just the fancy schmancy spa days and things like that. So once again, if you'd like to contact me directly, go ahead and hop over to my Instagram page. If you're interested in meditation videos and yoga videos for free, go ahead and pop over to my YouTube page, and I will be creating a membership site, or a membership portion of my website. So it's not posted yet, but I'll be posting that before February 1st. I'm also working on a podcast in which I dive really deep into my spiritual journey and how it began, the people in my life who really propelled me to move forward, and how you, of course, can begin your own spiritual journey. I'm going to talk about the things that shifted in my life, and what was I feeling when I felt that I needed to pivot and do something differently. And I just really look forward to sharing all this with all of you. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next Monday at 6:30 Pacific. And if you haven't already, don't forget to follow me here on Twitch. Have a wonderful evening, my lovelies. Thank you.